Welcome everyone to our second Women's PM Network Book Club meeting. We are here to share, to discuss, and to explore together. So don't be shy, chime in, share your thoughts, and get ready for some engaging polls as well. So in our first meetup, we discussed about basic concepts of the first two laws of atomic habits, which is make it obvious, make it attractive. And today we will take a deep dive into making it easy and satisfying. We will begin with a poll, as I've promised, initiated in our LinkedIn group that talks about being in motion and not taking action. It's a great point that not all of us have the luxury of working in environments where we feel safe to experiment, start small, or even fail. So the thing is, just because our environment isn't ideal doesn't mean we can't take steps to create a sense of safety or growth for ourselves. So what I want us all to do now is prioritize. So let me give you a little bit of insights in those. Fear can paralyze us into inaction, keeping us stuck in the planning phase. We often overthink. Every possible negative outcome comes in our mind, making it harder to take the first step. The key is to embrace failure as part of the process and view mistakes as learning opportunities. Perfectionism. We tend to delay, I think we've discussed it earlier, we tend to delay action, waiting for that perfect moment of everything being just right. But it's important to remember that done is better than perfect, and taking action, even imperfectly, is still progress. So a lack of time came second. So feeling overwhelmed by busy schedules. Now it's third. Feeling overwhelmed by busy schedules can make it challenging to move from planning to action. So what we have to do here, the trick is to break tasks into smaller, manageable steps and prioritize by scheduling dedicated time to work on them, even if it's just a few minutes a day. As we've discussed earlier with Liz, we have only a certain amount of time that we can dedicate to do certain things. So allow yourself to do those things that you can do at that specific time. Good. So thank you all for answering that one. Let's start with what the author now says. The author here suggests that we should focus on progress over perfection, taking small incremental steps to action and to be consistent with that action, with that step. The third law is described into those 4 chapters that I show you, and here you can see all the basic concepts. Let's think of one habit that you have developed recently or over the time, and how often did you have to repeat it before it started to feel automatic? Why do you think it happens when we repeat an action over and over again? Why does it become effortless? It happens what neuroscience call long-term potentiation. It refers to the strengthening of connections between neurons in the brain. And how does the brain's plasticity relate to habits? When you repeat an action over and over again, and you are consistent with it, then the neurons the neural pathways strengthen, and it makes the habit effortless over time. And why do we need to make the habits effortless? Because we are wired to choose the path of least resistance. So what we need to do is simplify our environment, surroundings, the habits that we want to build, make the process as simple as possible, and reduce friction. Otherwise, the habit will not stick. So, remember reading about the 2-minute rule? Does anyone want to share their perspective with us? Polo theory of conditioning, what you mean, Panida? Can you please clarify that? So let me start by saying that the 2-minute rule is all about creating momentum. Think of it as your gateway habit that naturally sets you on a more productive path. Most habits can be completed in a matter of seconds, but here's the kicker. They can influence your behavior in the next several hours. It's those small decisive moments, the ones you either choose to get started or just procrastinating that have a massive impact. The idea is to ritualize the beginning of a process. Make it so automatic that you don't even have to think about it. Like setting your running shoes by the door every day before you start running, or opening your laptop just as you sit at the desk. Those small triggers get the ball rolling, let's say. So the key takeaway here is standardize before you optimize. You should start simple, create consistency, and before you know it, those tiny little 2 minutes habit will lead you to something much bigger. So Liz here says that she loves the 2 minutes since time is my biggest issue. Yeah, I try to get work done fast and move on to maximize my productivity through the day. I think a lot of people can agree on that also. So who here has a 2 minute habit that they swear by and that helps them set up their day? For me, let's say it's when I wake up, I make my coffee and I do a 2 minute reflection on what I have to do for the day, and it sets up my day. What about you? Okay, so I don't see any comments, but I will get on with that. So, write my to-do list for the day. Oh, yeah, we will be talking about that. Coffee and a quick scan of my to-do list, yes. Good, Vidya, we have the same thought. Good. So, remember, 2 is twice as good as 1, but 1 is infinitely better than 0. And the secret is to do a few things for a long time, whereas doing a lot of things for just a little bit. Connecting it all with our previous meeting, what the author here suggests is taking the smallest action into the person you want to become. So remember the identity habits that we discussed in our previous meeting? Set up meeting agendas. I didn't get to read that one. To-do list at my desk is also the one for me. And starting the day with mindfulness meditation. Yes, Delisa, thank you. Let's talk about the commitment device. It's sort of like a contract with your future self. It's a choice you make now that forces you to behave better later. It's about locking in that good behavior. So when your future self is feeling lazy or tempted, there's no escape route. And one-time choices are a game changer. It's like when you set up automatic payments for your bills or buy a standing desk to improve your posture at work. These decisions automate positive behaviors and remove the mental energy that you need to create make good choices. So, can anyone share with us a commitment device that they've used in their work or their personal life that's really paid off? Did you automate a habit or make one-time choices that set you up for success? I have 2 examples for you here so that we can get the concepts starting to flow in our minds, let's say. A working example could be to schedule a meeting with a colleague or to discuss your progress on a project. So this creates a commitment to prepare and to show up, making it more likely you stay at your chores and be on track. And a personal example, a great one I might add, is to prepay for a gym membership or a fitness club. The financial commitment you will make then, it makes it harder to skip workouts because you've already paid for them. So now that we've explored how to make good habits obvious and easy, let's dive into the next phase, making them satisfying. So, sorry, focus time to go through to-do list before starting the day. Yeah, I try to create 1 or 2 week plan for midterm goals and weekly plans. Great. And regular calendar check for me and my team. Thank you. Thank you for your insights there. Okay, let's try the next one. The fourth law is make them satisfying. Because let's be honest, if something feels rewarding, we're way more likely to do that, to stick with it. So, ready to uncover some practical strategies to make it satisfying in the next chapters? The key to making any habit stick is ensuring it comes with a reward, an immediate one, because our brains are wired to seek out pleasure and avoid pain. So what's immediately rewarded gets repeated, and what's immediately punished gets avoided. Think about it in everyday life. You don't need a pep talk to eat that piece of chocolate, right? You don't, because it's the reward is instant there. And the challenge is to make the same true for good habits, like going for a run, sticking to a work routine, or focusing on self-development. You cannot wait months to feel the benefits of exercise or better work habits. So, what can we do now? Create short term rewards that make it satisfying to keep on doing. Maybe it's a mental pat in the back, or something tangible like a coffee break or a rest time after completing a hard task. On the flip side, you can make a bad habit less satisfying by removing rewards or adding immediate consequences. This is why many people swear by accountability partners. The thought of telling someone you didn't stick to your goal is a form of immediate punishment. So, what small reward do you give yourself for sticking to a habit? Write it in the chat, vote for it here if it's something that I've mentioned. If it's something else, you can write it in the chat or in the comments, and then think about also how you can punish a bad habit you want to avoid. Great, you guys. Okay, we have standardized a task. We have set up a reward or a punishment system. What do we do next? We track it. Imagine seeing a string of successful days where you've followed through on your habit, whether it's exercising or reading or simply getting to bed on time. That visual cue alone, like ticking off a box in a habit tracker, provides immediate satisfaction and creates a sense of momentum. It's a small action, but it taps into our human brains because we have the need to see progress. So tracking doesn't need to be fancy. It can be as simple as an X on a calendar. But the magic happens when you see the chain of days growing longer, and you're less likely to break it then. And the consistency is where the real power lies. After all, what gets measured gets optimized, right? So let's see what this group of people used to track habits. Okay, so let's get on with it. So, who helps you keep on track when motivation dips? Feel free to share your answers in the chat or just think about it for yourself. It's important to know that accountability isn't about someone else checking up on you, but you are also invested in your journey. I think it's the accountability partner. It's one of the most underrated habit building tools. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to skip a workout or cheat on a diet if you haven't mentioned it to someone else? No one's watching. But the moment you commit to it to someone else, whether it's a friend or a colleague or a coach, suddenly the stakes are higher. It's not about you anymore. You don't want to let anyone down, and that social pressure makes a big difference. What's even better is that it works both ways. By supporting their progress also, you are reinforcing your own. So it's a win-win dynamic. where accountability breeds consistency. So let's see in this group who our accountability partners are. Okay, so let's touch on a different topic now. Let's dive into a really interesting question. We often hear different opinions on what drives success. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts on that one. So it's fascinating to see how we prioritize these factors for success, whether it's talent, tools, effort, or support. So the powerful concept from Atomic Habits in the book that James Clear talks about how success isn't just about the talent, isn't just about the tools and the resources, but more about consistent effort and building systems that work in your favor. It's not about who you are, but what you do regularly. The focus on habits, as Clear explains, is the ultimate way to channel your efforts productively over time. So what he says is talent counts, but efforts count twice. So if you have the talent, take advantage of it and work twice as hard, you become 10 times best. So when are you most motivated? When you're mastering something new, where you're working with others, or maybe you're pushing your limits. It is really interesting to see how each and every one of us work. So it's really interesting to see how our motivation can come from different sources. This brings us to a key concept from Atomic Habits, something called Goldilocks rule. Essentially, our motivation is highest when we're working on tasks that are right at the edge of our abilities. Not too easy and not too hard either. So let me give you an example from daily life. Say you're learning to run. If you push yourself to run too far, too soon, you risk burnout. But if you've never pushed yourself beyond your comfort zone, your current comfort zone, you won't grow. We have to be challenging, but still keep it achievable. Now, how does this apply to your professional life? Think about taking on new projects. When you take on something new that stretches your abilities, it's fun, it's exciting, it keeps you engaged and motivated. But if the task is overwhelming, it's too hard to do, it can lead to frustration. So that's why breaking big tasks into smaller ones and creating milestones for them can help you stay on track and motivated while making progress. So let's keep in mind as we reflect on how we proceed, how we approach building our tools and habits in taking on new challenges. The key is to find that sweet spot where growth happens, neither too comfortable and not too overwhelming. We've talked a lot about the positive side of habits and how they help us grow. But now let's explore the other side, the potential downside of good habits, something that's addressed in chapter 20. While good habits can be powerful tools for achieving our goals, they can also lock us into a routine or identity that may no longer serve us as well. So think about it. When we're too reliant on our habits, we might struggle to adapt. When life throws us a curveball, or when changes in our environment require us to shift gears. So let's have a quick poll with that. I want to hear your thoughts. So thank you all for your responses. This helps us reflect on how our habits influence our adaptability. We must remain flexible with our habits and not let them become so rigid that they hinder growth and adaptation. As we move forward, it's essential to evaluate which habits are working for us and which might need to be re-examined. And as we reflect on the balance between habits, adaptability, and personal growth, I want to leave you with two powerful quotes from James Clear that I find particularly interesting, that really sum up the essence of atomic habits for me. This one really speaks to the power of focusing on your own progress, measuring yourself against who you were yesterday and not against others. It's a reminder that our real competition is within ourselves. We become better by constantly improving, not by comparison. And the next one ties directly back to the core message of the book. Success isn't a singular achievement, but about the ongoing refinement of our habits and our systems. It's about setting ourselves up for continuous improvement, not just hitting a target and then stopping.
Thanks for joining, and join us next month when we go through flow engineering. Join us live. Links are below.